Tales-BRIAR Rose, or the Sleeping Beauty. Once upon a time there lived a king and a queen. Every day they said to each other, "Oh, would that we had a child!" And at last their wish came to pass. They had a little daughter so beautiful that the sun himself had never seen her like. In his joy, the king gave a great feast. He invited his friends and neighbors. He asked 12 fairies. Now there were 13 of each fairies in the land. The king invited only 12 because he had just 12 golden plates. At the end of the feast the fairies began to give their gifts to the king's daughter. The first said, "She shall be so good and so sweet that everyone shall love her." "She shall grow more and more beautiful every day," said the second. "She shall always have a store of gold and gems," said the third. "She shall sing like the morning lark," said the fourth. "She shall dance like a leaf on a tree," said the fifth. Thus they went on with their wishes until 11 had spoken. "She shall," began the 12th, but before she could finish her wish, in came the 13th fairy. She was angry because she had not been invited to the feast. She did not speak to anyone, nor look to right or left. She cried with a loud voice, "When the king's daughter is 15, she shall prick her finger while spinning, and shall fall down dead." Without one word more she turned and left the hall. All the guests were frightened and grieved at these dreadful words. But now the 12th fairy stepped forward. "Oh, king," she said, "I cannot undo the wicked wish of my sister, but I can soften it. Your daughter shall indeed prick her finger while spinning, and fall was so sweet and good and beautiful that everyone loved her. Her father and mother were so fond of her that they did not like her to be out of their sight. On her 15th birthday, however, she was roaming through the castle. She went from room to room and from hall to hall. At last she came to an old tower which she had never seen before. She climbed the winding stairs and found at the top a little door. In the lock was a rusty key. She turned it, and the door sprang open. There at a wheel sat an old woman spinning flax. Either she had not heard the king's command or she was the wicked fairy. "Good day, old dame," said the princess. "What are you doing?" "I am spinning," said the old woman, nodding her head. "I like this wheel that goes round and round so fast," said the princess. "Let me see if I can spin." As soon as she gave the wheel one turn, there came to pass the wish of the evil fairy. She stuck her finger and fell as dead to the floor. A deep sleep fell upon her, and not upon her alone, but upon the king and the queen and everyone in the castle. The horses in the stable, the dogs in the yard, the doves on the roof, even the fire on the hearth, became still and slept. The wind ceased, and not a leaf stirred on the trees. All at once there sprang up a hedge of thorns around the castle. It was so thick that neither man nor beast could pass. From without nothing could be seen but the tops of the towers and the flag on the roof. Years went by, and men in all the lands around talked of the Sleeping Beauty, as the king's daughter was called. From time to time princes came and tried to make their way through the hedge of thorns. But they all failed. Many were held fast by the thorns like strong hands, and so died. Thus years and years passed. At last there came a young prince to that land. To him an old man pointed out the castle behind its hedge of thorns. The prince had long since heard his grandfather tell of the beautiful princess who lay sleeping there. He knew, too, that many kings' sons had risked and lost their lives trying to reach her. But now he cried, "I will either find and free the sleeping princess, or I will die seeking her." He made his way to the hedge. Lo! Instead of thorns, he found a hedge of flowers. They moved aside for him to pass, and then closed behind him. And he went all alone to the castle yard. Here he saw the horses and dogs lying asleep. On the roof sat the doves, with their heads under their wings. In the castle all was as still as death. The servants slept in the kitchen, the flies on the walls, and the fire on the hearth. On the throne sat the sleeping king and queen. Around them were lords and ladies all asleep. On went the prince, from room to room, and from hall to hall. At last he came to the tower and went up the winding stairs. There was the princess fast asleep. She was so beautiful that he could not turn his eyes away. At last he stooped and kissed her. At the touch she opened her eyes and smiled in his face. With her awoke everyone in the castle. The horses jumped and shook themselves. The dogs barked. The doves took their heads from behind their wings and flew to the field. The fire burned bright and cooked the dinner. Then the prince asked the princess to be his wife, and their wedding supper was held in the great hall. The prince did not tell his bride that she was dressed like his great-grandmother. He loved her none the less for that. In time the prince became king and the princess queen, and they lived happy to the end of their days.